Good evening, Colts Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the No Horsing Around podcast. As always, we are two dudes yet again back together for y'all on the live talking Colts. As always, I'm your host, Steven, joined by my buddy Zach. And man, dude, it's week two.
Week two. Hey, time to dust everything off, Steven, and just, forget about what happened last week. It's time to move on, right? Like, this is the best part about football. We have these reactionary videos. We stew on it. We let it bother us a little bit. And then as the week goes, we just flush it out of our system. And like I said last week in our live stream, week one is the most unpredictable week in the NFL. Players have not played in the preseason. You have a lot of these abnormalities. You have a lot of these players that haven't even had any real physical contact. Darius Leonard did nothing. Carson Wentz did nothing. All of these players that matter to your football team did nothing. And they go out there, and I've always felt like that's a little bit hard on an athlete. You go from 0 to 100 in the matter of 1 second. So, week two, expect a big jump. All of these teams will kind of, come back together, and I think that the Indianapolis Colts are going to play a little bit better. They're a little bit, their ego's been a little bit bruised. I would say that, and anytime your ego gets bruised, especially in front of your home crowd, you want to come back and follow that up with a really good representative football game in week two.
Yeah, I agree. Ego bruised because it is the mainstays of what happened last week. And we talked about this. We're not going to dredge into the Seahawks game. We had an instant reaction. We had a take a breath reaction. We've been there, done that. It's Wednesday. It's moved forward time to week two. It's a huge game out, home against the Rams. It's massive. Before we go any further, like we always say to please you guys, we always ask you guys to please rate, review, subscribe, share, follow. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, if you're listening on Spotify, iHeartRadio, however you get your information, thank you. Please keep doing that. I want us to give a shout out to you guys too, because we had set a goal before the live stream, I believe, last week of 400. We hit that, and we're damn near at 450 1 week later, and that's all you guys.
100%. You couldn't be. You said it perfectly, Steven. These guys have decided, and we're going to do the same thing at the beginning, at the end, as we do on every single show. We're just asking you to come on in, man. Join the No Horsing family. One of our big things and our platforms that we use, we want to use, our voices to use your voice. So if you're a Colts fan, if you're a Colts novice, or you're just a Colts nerd like Steven and I are, hop on here. Comment. We love people commenting in the YouTube section. We love people commenting on these live streams. We love even, fans from the other team hopping on like we did last week. The Seattle team fans, they were a little bit rowdy. They got on there and
stayed rowdy after the chat.
They stayed rowdy after the chat. They kept going. But we like that, man. We like the interaction. We like the feedback from the fans, and we're just here to talk Colts football. So I guess we'll do like we always do. We'll dive right in. You want to go offense or defense first, Steven?
Man, let's go offense. Let's kind of go offense on. And I want to make sure we're talking Colts offense matching up against the Rams defense. Is that where we're going? Yeah,
let's do that.
So I'm worried.
Sure.
I was sitting here in my head pondering this as I'm driving home today, knowing we're going live and knowing I'm going to talk to all the No Horsing family today. And I'm kind of knocking this around in my head. And I start thinking to myself, oh my God, Braden Smith could possibly be out. Fisher, we're unsure of. And then you're looking across at Aaron Donald, and it's like, okay, well, no, there's also Jalen Ramsey. You start kind of, and you didn't see any kind of separation with our wideouts going into the Seahawks game. And I'm going to give a shout because we're not even talking Seahawks, and Herbicide has decided to jump in. What's up, Herbicide? He asked when we were going live. We're live. How you doing, man? You got the game right. It's okay. Be nice this week. And shout out to Adam Raymer, Bebe. That's my buddy. He's always logging on. I always gotta make sure I give him a shout out. But I started thinking about that, and I was like, well, our receivers had a hard time getting a little bit of separation. Our O-line damn sure had a hard time blocking their D-line. And as much as we want the mythical Titan matchup of Quentin Nelson and Aaron Donald, the Rams would be idiotic to continue to line him up against Quentin Nelson all game. They're going to move him around. Wright talked about that, I think, today, that there's no way that's going to happen. They're going to move Donald all over the place. So I would be lying if I didn't say I'm a little nervous. Just a touch.
That's
when
fair.
It comes to the way our offense looked last week against the Seahawks, going up, and no offense to Herbicide, but going up to what I feel is a deeper defense than the Seattle Seahawks have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably fair. Seahawks played amazing up front. I think I don't think I quite felt like they had that good of a defensive front, as we were going into that game. But I mean, there's no excuse. They whooped our ass. I mean, there's just no excuse. The way our offensive line played, I think they got embarrassed, and I think they hate that. That bad taste that's in their mouth. Anytime you're a football player and you have that bad taste in your mouth, you want to immediately go right back out there and play football and prove your worth. And I think you're going to see a better week out of that offensive line collectively. It looks like that Eric Fisher's trending to play this week. Now, I kind of thought he might sneak in there and play last week, but that's the fan in me, and that's Eric Fisher wanting to be out there. And then the coach says, no, not so fast. We want you to play all season long. We don't want to get you out there and put you right back in the same position as what got you here on January 21st. But that's going to solidify that line so much more, that left side, especially having your starting left tackle, your starting left guard, your starting center. From that way over, you feel pretty good. You can have those guys. But, I mean, there's really no great answer for Aaron Donald, right, Steven? Like there's just not.
I don't think anybody has one.
Like. I mean, you do your best to contain a guy like that. It's almost like a great basketball player. Like Steph Curry's going to score his points. It's just, what can we do to limit the good looks? What can we do to not hurt our own selves as far as that goes? But I would have to say that Aaron Donald is priority number one. Keeping him off of Carson Wentz is going to be key. Keeping that pocket a little bit cleaner and allowing Carson to kind of diagnose those plays. Our wide receivers, like you mentioned earlier, have to do a better job of getting separation and getting open quicker. Right off of that line, they need to beat those cornerbacks. And that kind of segues in to, the next part of it. That's Jalen Ramsey, right? Like, we all know Jalen Ramsey. I've never had a problem with players, Steven, who run their mouth but back it up. 100%. Yeah. That's Jalen Ramsey to a T. He runs his mouth. He's flamboyant, but that dude can absolutely ball out, and he deserves to say every single thing that he says on the football field because he's an amazing football player, just an incredible cornerback. We all know him from the time he was with the Jags, and we're so glad to get him out of the damn division, to be honest with you.
Now you got to play him.
Yeah, and now we got to play him.
Does any player not fit L.A. better than he does? Like, just L.A.
He's so LA, man. He's
Hollywood. Like, he fits it so well. I was talking about him today with my brother, who's a huge Florida State fan, and we were comparing Marcus Peters and Jalen Ramsey, how they both talk a lot of trash. And the issue, what he kind of said was that he had a problem with Marcus Peters because Marcus Peters sometimes plays a little dirtier. Jalen Ramsey talks a ton of smack. There's a reason why they don't mic him up. There's 100% reason why they don't mic him up at all. So, I mean, it's interesting. But I see you, Wentz season. What's up, man?
That's our boy. He's in here.
Speaking of Wentz, because he's showing this out here too. I want to get one. We're going to talk about it, and it has to do with last week. But I know me and you had slightly differing opinions. Not a ton. He's hard to tell because of the way he played last week. But can we kind of at least agree that this idea that we lost because of Wentz, like the national media, like the big-time national media, has put this idea out that we lost because of the way Wentz played? I don't know how to judge him because he didn't have time. and I don't know if that's on him a little. Which the thing that irritated me the most that I heard when it came to that was that it was Max Kellerman on ESPN who blamed him for the sacks. All of them said
Yeah.
he blamed him for the below average O-line play from last week, which I'm sure Herbicide would be livid because he gave no credit to the Seahawks. But
Yeah.
I want to get that out. He did not play poorly. You didn't get to see the full array. I think that is a huge, and we'll get to our things like that later. But Wentz's play again is a very large portion of what's going to happen when we get into this.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, let's just get it straight. I mean, we lost because our offensive line played like shit. I mean, we can just call it what it is. And then our defense did not come to play football. We can all say, hey, defense showed up, came out after halftime, played a really good third quarter. And I did think they did respond better in the second half. But that's just inexcusable. Russell Wilson is one of the best deep ball football throwers in the NFL. And he's going to launch that ball out there, man. I mean, he was just really, really good that day. He's been good his whole career doing that, right? You've got to know he's going to do that. And I think it was just a lack of communication. Julian Blackman even went into it, in the media session he had earlier in the week and said, we just hadn't played a lot together and we didn't communicate on that back end very well at all. We weren't passing those receivers off, responsibly.
Right.
And man, oh man, did he make us pay with Tyler Lockett, and Lockett's going to do that. What he's going to do that all the time. So
as you're talking, we're getting flooded here. I want to make sure we're not going to spend a ton of time. We're not really going to spend any time talking Seahawks because you guys have heard from me and Zach on both of these. But Young Money, I love that. It made me laugh. He said, sure, it was Carson's fault that Davenport was getting ran by and Braden Smith got put on his ass on fourth down. But there's a lot of things. Rush played special. That's a great one. Shout out. What's up, Jason? Thank you for jumping on here.
Love Jason, man.
So and Wentz season has a great point when it comes to there it is. The Colts did let Fisher do media today. So that's an interesting. They've not done that yet. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that matters less than how he plays because he's yet to go, I think, full practice. Full participant. I know he wants to play. Mm-hmm. He wants to be in there. But the question is, in hearing him today, so I spent a touch of time today listening to the media availability and hearing him talk. He's talking like a player that wants to play if the doctors say he's okay. He does trust the doctors 100%. If they say no go, he's going to be upset. But he does not sound like a player that is unsure of if he can walk out there Sunday and block his man and keep Carson upright.
Yeah, I feel like he was really close last week. I think at the end of the day, I think Frank just made a decision for Eric Fisher. He said, I'm not going to let this guy put himself out there in harm's way. What's one game going to be in regards to a 17-week season, man? I mean, you have to weigh out all of the options. Mm-hmm. He comes out there and he gets injured right away. And our season, based on what we saw from Davenport at left tackle, is P-freaking-U, man. I mean, that is bad. I think PFF, I know some people are up on PFF, some people are down on him. I think he was the lowest rated left tackle in the NFL last week, starting left tackle.
Unbelievable.
He had about a 36.2 grade. I'm pretty sure my 8-year-old son could have had about a 30-ish grade himself. So, I mean, it was rough, man. I mean, he was just beat all day long. But up and down that line, I haven't seen Braden Smith. Now, we know Braden has that injury to his foot, and maybe that contributed to a little bit of it. Mm-hmm. But that being said, man, I mean, that line looked bad. I mean, even Ryan Kelly got stunned on a couple plays, some missed snaps and stuff like that. So, Herbside makes a great point. He's a Seahawks fan. We need Fisher back. I mean, we do. We need him back in a bad way. So if he can play this week, I'd be very surprised if they don't give it a go. And I think tomorrow's practice is going to be very important for Fisher. Like, how much action does he take? How does he get out there and actually play? They may do a limited practice tomorrow and go a full on Friday. I don't know what they're going to do. But I will say this. If he doesn't play, we've got a real challenge on that left-hand side. And the Rams are going to know that, right? Like they're going to
Oh,
know.
yeah.
They're going to know
Oh,
what
yeah.
we're up against.
I mean, and Jason David, he agrees with you. If Fisher's not ready, it's better to wait for the Titans game. Because here's the deal, too, you guys. This game is a huge game. You don't want to say like it's not. I'm not saying it's a must win. I don't believe in that stuff. It's the second game of the season, but let's just play hypotheticals here for a second. Say the Colts lose this game, and the Titans lose to the Seahawks, which I think we're all expecting. That Week 3 game becomes huge and massive because they're both sitting at 0-2. Really and truthfully, if they both somehow pull up a win, it's still a huge game. But this is a big game. It's a big bounce back game. Like I said, I listened to a lot of the media availability. So I mean, I listened to Fisher and Wentz, and I got to talk about Buckner because I loved what he was. Someone asked him in the media availability today if he modeled his game after Aaron Donald, if he was chasing Aaron Donald, and Buckner's response was, "I don't chase anybody else." Yeah. So it's like, he's going to come out fired up too.
Oh yeah.
Even though he played well, he played. He took a lot of ownership for Carson's runs and things like that. But
yeah,
I mean, on the offensive side of the ball, when you're looking at key players and players that, as you break that down, it's how are you going to keep him? It begins and ends with keeping Carson upright. And I'm not going to say that Aaron. Someone posed a question to me about would Aaron Donald who would have more sacks, Aaron Donald or the Colts' entire D line? And my response was, I pray the Colts' D line because there's more of them. Yeah. If Donald comes out and has a Chandler Jones-esque game, then we're not winning. It's not even close.
No, yeah. I mean, we've got to – and even if we need to use tight ends, we need to use running backs to chip. I mean, we got to – that has to be priority number one. And look, Frank Reich's not stupid, man. I mean, like he understands he's playing against a generational talent, one of the best to ever do it. And I think it's going to be kind of cool. You mentioned, another little subplot storyline. DeForest Buckner, by all accounts, is considered one of the best 2 or 3 at his position as well. And I think he has a lot of pride at that position. DeForest is one of the few players I do feel like on defense that played solid last week. He had that sack. He was one of the few guys that was ready to play that football game. It's going to be very interesting. Let's flip over just a little bit for a second, and let's just talk about our offense, what our offense needs to do against that Rams defense. Who is your guy this week that's got to play well? If you want to look at, at us having a really big game, I'm going to start it, Steven, and give you a second to think on it. I think it's got to be Jonathan Taylor, man. I think you got to pound it. The Bears did not play great against them, but the one thing that Montgomery did early in that game, he was breaking off some pretty good runs. And what they were doing was they were really using, that rushing attack from Aaron Donald and kind of letting him get upfield and kind of using those counters to come on the backside of him a little bit. So for me personally, I think it starts with Jonathan Taylor, especially if you have Fisher back. Lean on those guys and give those guys a chance to come back and revamp what they did last week. Because I can tell you right now, above anybody on the field that I expect to play better this week, I think it's going to be the O-line. And I think they're going to be, quite frankly, I think they're going to be pissed off this week, man. I think they're embarrassed. They've been talked about on national TV. They've just been mocked all week long. And I think you're going to see a very angry, mean offensive line. And if Eric Fisher can find some way to get on that field, I think you're going to see a lot different offensive line this week than you saw last week.
Yeah, so I want to be different, and so I'm trying to think because Taylor's 100% mine as well. But to be different, I might go and Herbicide actually popped it up. So that I popped up one of the first ladies of No Horse, and yes, she agrees with you. But Herbicide brought up Nyheim Hines. I think that could be an interesting one. Everything you said about Taylor is right. I think we said it last week too. The best way to negate a great pass rush is you run right at them. You run right at them. You run right at wherever Aaron Donald is not.
Yeah.
That's where you go. And Taylor can do those. And we have a stable of backs. The reason I might to be different and say Naheem is you do have the ability to catch them off guard with screens and little wheel route. He's so versatile.
Yeah.
That could actually help to be able to kind of catch them off guard. It might be able, you pull them in with some of these running back screen bubbles out to the outside,
sure,
to where you're going to start to slow down that pass rush a little bit. And shout out to, we've got him up. Shout out to Herbicide. He has given inside knowledge too. He talked about Floyd. He's another great player. Like he said earlier, I won't pop it, but he's here to give inside knowledge. They do play them twice a year. So thank you for that, Herbicide. We enjoy the inside knowledge that you're shooting at us. But if I want to be who I would pick, it would be Jonathan Taylor. But if I do want to be different, I might go Naheem Hines. Carson, you could probably pick Carson almost every week because the quarterback is such a crucial position. And then outside of anybody on the line, I think that's kind of where you go. I think you're going to have to go with one of the running backs.
Yeah. Pittman Jr.'s got to play better this week too, right?
He has to.
If he's going to be a number one, if he's going to be a true dog in the NFL, he's got to be the type of guy that, that pulls Carson to the side and says, hey, man, just give me the ball. Throw the ball to me. I'll make something happen. I'm going to use my big frame to go out there and keep moving these chains. Somebody's got to be a security blanket. Somebody's got to go out there and, transitioning into another wide receiver. Zach Pascal looked like he was the most comfortable throwing the football to Zach Pascal last week, honestly. Michael Strawn, in limited action last week did look good. He got open both times. It was a really very encouraging, from your young wide receiver. And I think as the season goes along, they'll work him into that mix. I would have liked to seen him get a little more red zone work last week. But these wide receivers, somebody's got to emerge as the true number one, because what happens without T.Y. out there is all of these guys just kind of blend in, and nobody steps out. And then you don't have to really key on somebody. You don't have to really game plan for a particular wide receiver. And I'd like to see Michael Pittman Jr. come out this week and be a guy that you have to actually game plan against moving forward and say, all right, man, we going into halftime. Whatever we do, we got to stop Pittman Jr. from getting the ball because he's
up 11.
Tearing us up. Yep, absolutely.
Well, when you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is we need a receiver to have that T.Y. moment that T.Y. had with Phillip Rivers last year, which was everyone knows he went to Rivers at one point and he said, if you need yards, come find me. And yes, there she is. She's better late than never, you guys. Better late than never. She's popping in to say hi. But no, not right now. But so he yeah. But he needs to have that moment. Like I was saying, sorry, she flustered me a little bit tonight. That doesn't normally happen. But he needs to have that moment of basically where you need it. I'm open. That Randy Moss moment. I'm always open. That wide receiver elite number one moment that says I'm always open. He needs to have that.
100%. He has to go out there and he's got to earn that right to be that number one wide receiver on the football field. And right now, it's really an open competition between him, Pascal. Paris Campbell had a nice little, a little gainer as he kind of hooked up the field. I just think if Carson can ever get in a rhythm where he's not constantly having pressure every single play all game long, I think he can settle in nice and he can start going for some of those deep shots. But deep shots are a must this week, Steven. We have to challenge those guys. You do want to stay away from Ramsey, but at the end of the day, you're going to have to challenge those guys, man. You're going to have to push that ball down the field. So a lot of that underneath stuff that works so well in Frank Reich's offensive system, you can actually get some of those things to go through and keep moving those chains. I tell you, Carson was expected to be a little bit rusty, young money. He said definitely missed that throw. He's right.
Mm-hmm.
He missed a few throws. He was a little bit inaccurate a couple times. I think all in all for his first game back, I'm not concerned with him right now. Do I think he looked like, out of his mind? Great. No. Do I think he played so terrible that you're like, oh my gosh, like what did we do? Why did we trade for this guy? No, I think he looked like a guy who hasn't played football for a while, who was injured, who didn't take any real live bullet snaps in the preseason, and he was just trying to get his feet underneath of him and get a little bit of a rhythm. Couldn't get a rhythm because he was on his back almost all game long. I mean, he was hit.
Right.
Well, anytime you're hit double digits, like more than 10 times, that's a problem. Like I don't care who you are, at some point you become a human being. Russell Wilson got sacked by DeForest Buckner last week. He didn't look like a very good quarterback on that play, because he's on his back. You can't play football when you're constantly getting hit like that. So this O-line's got to step up. I'd like to switch over to the defense, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Let's start with our defense. Let's go with our defense, and let's talk about what we need from our defense. And Colts loyalist, has to get more productive. Quiddy has to use his speed to get past the 40-year-old offensive lineman. You want to talk about an Iron Man, Whitworth out there on the end. He's 40 years old, and he's good. That's the craziest part about it. Like, he's still a good left tackle.
Really good.
He's not just hanging out and just playing football just for the hell of it, just to collect a paycheck. He's still really impressive when I watch him play. Quiddy's got a great test, those first 2 weeks going against some really, veteran left tackles, kind of break them into the league. Quiddy's got to be disruptive this week. Like, I don't think it's as much about sacks as it is pushing that pocket, getting those hands up, being disruptive, running those running backs down on the backside. And we're going to have somebody on that other side apply some more pressure, man. I mean, we're just going to have to put more pressure, whether that be up the middle. We blitzed quite a few times against the Seahawks, which was questionable. We never blitz, and then all of a sudden against this football team, we decide to go ahead and just go crazy and blitz, over and over and over again. Our linebackers, man, we call it how I see it. Linebackers got to play better. I know Darius had that punch out, but they were just off. They were just out of place most of that football game, and they were allowing a lot of those creases to open up. And then our back end, our most reliable people on the back end, you expect Kari Willis and Blackman to be pretty solid. Those are your starters. Those are your anchors. And they were just out of place like all game long. It was just really, really, really rough. You saw them kind of bickering back and forth. Like, why are you here? Why are you here? It was pretty rough to watch. And man, oh man, do we need Xavier Rhodes to come back? Like, come on, man.
He didn't practice today.
Yeah.
But Frank has said in his media time today, he is expected to practice at some point. He wasn't going to do it today. So I'm fingers crossed, because we need him back. Because you talk about, like you were saying with the secondary, I expect of the two, I expect Blackman to sometimes make like a splash play somewhere, just because he's kind of like that's what he does. But I expect Kari to be in the right position and the right area. And there were times that you could, in the game last week, where he didn't do the right thing. The massive touchdown before half, he didn't start backpedaling with Lockett till Lockett had a full head of steam, and there was no way he was catching him. So, I mean, I'm with you. And the best thing that I've heard this week so far is the defense and how they've responded, at least what they're saying. Darius, right after the game, first one to say they whooped our ass. Buckner today saying the big run he was chipped off his area. He shouldn't have had that happen. I mean, the defense, the two stalwarts of this team are the defense and the offensive line. The defense is expected to be elite this year, and that wasn't what they showed. No. And the offensive line is expected to be a top 5, and that's not what they showed. And those are some dirty guys, and those are some prideful men in those rooms. And I'm really interested to see how they respond. I am also excited because I do believe, and this is just a player I like, is Komoko is back practicing. Yep. I'm interested to see what happens with that, because we're gonna have to defensive wise, and I want to get your take, and I want to get everybody's take who's in the chat. Defensive wise, my thought is it begins and ends with knocking Matt Stafford off his spot, moving him off his spot, because the Bears did not do that, and he just sat back there, and he looked like he's been playing with McVay for 10 years.
Players like Matt Stafford. The one thing that we have a little more of a luxury this week, though, Steven, Stafford's not a mobile quarterback, right? Like he can move in the pocket a little bit and buy himself some time, but Stafford doesn't. He doesn't have that same threat as Russell Wilson, to go off and just take off and get those, first downs that just drive you nuts as a fan and as a defensive coordinator. But you're right. That pressure from the middle, man, pushing him back and making him uncomfortable is so key. And you got to get him off his spot, man. You can't just let him drop back, get comfortable, and get in a rhythm. He's like any other top-notch, top 10 quarterback in the NFL. When that guy gets in that rhythm, just like a pitcher, man, I mean, it's over. I mean, he's going to hit everything. That basket gets bigger. Everything just gets more comfortable, and he starts making these throws that are outside of his mind. And you got to watch his arm too. I don't know if you watched the game that he played against the Bears. He just launched a ball, I think, for about 60 to 70 yards, dude. I mean, it was just like – I was like – and it was just easy, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we've got to be ready for things like this.
Well, and I was going to say, one of the thoughts that hit my mind during that game too is that I know a lot of people are going to compare, and I feel like this season I might, depending on how it goes, I might come across as a Carson Wentz like fanboy a little bit, but I am a big fan of his, but I feel at the same time there's going to be a lot of people that compare Wentz to Stafford. And out the gate, I don't think you can. Wentz missed so much time, and Stafford did not. Stafford came in. He may not have played. They don't play anybody in the preseason either. He never touched the field, but he took a ton of reps. Yeah, and he looks, man. I think we were talking about Jalen Ramsey. Does anybody else look better fitted for Hollywood than Matthew Stafford? When he's out there, the way he's flinging and the way he looks. I mean, but I think for like a key for me, defensive side, is you've got to knock him off his spot. You're going to have to disrupt him in some way. And I think that's like Colts loyalist had said earlier, like Quiddy's huge in this game. Quiddy, Al-Qadim Mahana, DeForest Buckner, Kamoko Toure, like they mentioned Ben Bannigu had packages, like the NASCAR package, but they couldn't employ it because it didn't fit. Yeah. That's it. Like the D line is going to be massive for this game because you're going to have to get to him.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Loyalist, shout out to him. He's a good follower on this in front of the show. He said Stafford doesn't deal with pressure from the inside worth of crap, and Buckner has to eat 100%. Couldn't have said it any better than that. Buckner's got to apply that constant pressure. And the only knock on Matthew Stafford in his career is he can turn the football over. Like when he gets rattled and he starts moving and he starts getting hit a lot, especially when he plays from behind, he likes to play a little bit of that hero ball, right? Like that's just that backyard football, throwing that football around. He's got supreme confidence. He's a guy you could turn over. He's a guy that the Colts, quite frankly, have turned over in the past. But you got to get that pressure. And it all starts, with Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, and then pushing him back off of his spot, and then hopefully, Quiddy, whether it be Al-Qadim Muhammad, Lewis, Kamoko you mentioned earlier, somebody can start getting a hand on him and knocking that ball out, or, just tipping the ball, disrupting him, sacking him. But you're going to need that pressure all game long. This is going to be a game where our defense has to show up if we want to win this football game. Yeah, because of that defense that the Rams have. You're not going to go out there and put up 40 points against this Rams defense. It's just not going to happen. They're just too good of a football team at all different levels. All three levels, they've got supreme, they've got great elite talent at all of these different levels. So that being said, we've got to go out there and have a solid game plan. I expect us, I don't know about you, Steven, I expect us to have a bounce back game. I really do, man. I mean, I expect us to have a bounce back game.
I agree. I wanted to throw this up because Herbicide put it out there. I suggest you guys need to swagger up. Rams are bullies. What do you do to bullies? Punch them in the face and they'll wilt. The Rams, have a ton of swagger. Now, there's a lot of swagger on the Colts. Now they're not going to. I mean, Kenny Moore, Darius Leonard, DeForest Buckner. There's some of them. Quentin Nelson probably has the most swagger in the room, but the Colts don't approach it in that way. But I get what he's saying. And then I wanted, before we go, there was a question that Jason had, and I wanted to at least touch on it with Darius Leonard because he didn't practice today. Yeah, it was listed as his ankle. I think it's more precautionary. If someone else knows, please drop that in, because of the offseason surgery. They're probably a little tender. It's the first game, and he didn't play in the preseason, so it's probably more precautionary than anything, Jason, that he took today off.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're. We'll see, man. Fingers crossed. We definitely need Darius Leonard out there. Darius is almost like T.Y. Hilton on the defense, though, right? It's just weird. When T.Y. doesn't play, we don't seem to win a lot of football games. Well, when Darius doesn't play, we don't seem to win a lot of football games either. So it's just kind of one of those things. You need your vocal leader and your guy who's just a playmaker. We mentioned earlier, he didn't have his best game, but he did punch that football out. And that's what Darius Leonard does. He can change the football game just by one punch out. He can change every single thing about that football game. And it'll be interesting to see how this injury report progresses as we get into about Friday. I always usually don't freak out till about Friday because a lot of those veterans nowadays, they'll rest them all the way up as far as they possibly can, just to get their bodies, in that game day. And that game day thing. Hey, we want to do something kind of fun this week. We just wanted to just kind of ask, post in the comments if you follow us on Twitter. We just want to see where you guys are at. If you're YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, just post us in the comments, and we want to see where you guys are at and where you guys are coming from and how did you find us so we can interact with you guys a little bit more.
Yeah. So, I mean, and Wentz season drops in here, like you said, injury report, and we'll have, like we did last week, we'll have our kind of later in the week, one of us will do a video and pop it up there for you guys on what it's shaping out to be headed into the weekend, headed into the game. Definitely, like you said, what you just said, Colts loyalist, yes. For those who have been around long enough with us, you know what he's saying when he says T-bag complete. That is us saying, please hit that subscribe button like Big Q does. So we would love for you guys to do that. I mean, one of the interesting things, I want to pop it up, is Young Money. It all starts with stopping the run. McVay offense starts with run. So if he can set up the play action, if we stop the run and make them one-dimensional, and offense has to start fast. So that seems like his keys a little bit. And I get that there's a ton of motion when it comes. McVay's, there's so many bells and whistles, and they whooped the Bears' ass so bad. They didn't pull like any of that out last week. So there's chunks of the playbook no one has seen yet with Stafford. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And no matter, Okereke. Okay, I didn't say this in one of my videos. I got to say this. I have to say, for those who watched it on TV, because I have to just get this off my chest for a second, because it bothered me I didn't do it in my video. Can we have a better announcer for our game than Jonathan Vilma? Please? I know you're at the game, so you don't have to hear him.
Yeah.
But he called Okereke.
Oh, my God.
Throughout the game. And he called Kari Willis Kyrie. It threw me. I'm sorry. If you heard that, if you guys were watching that, I would love it. I'd love for you. But I meant to get that off my chest before. But, I mean, he's definitely outside of Darius, he has massive expectations this year. Okereke does. And I think we've got to see, like you pointed out, the linebackers in general are going to have to set a tone. Because as much as the Rams are bullies, at the same time, I feel like you might be able to push back and it would surprise them. You know what I mean? Like their offense-wise does not seem like a bully.
Yeah, man. I mean, you're exactly right. Like, it was just, I did go back, and believe it or not, I always kind of go back and watch the video day after because I like to see it. It's cool because you get to see it on the field, but there's things that you miss, man. When you're watching it on that big screen, you can see those plays, you can break things down, you can pause, and you can do all of that good stuff. But you're exactly right, man. Like, can we get some? I mean, it's Russell Wilson playing in this game. You know, I mean, can we not get a little bit better announcers for this football game? It was a big.
I'm not asking for Romo.
Sure, yeah. I mean,
we'll have good ones this week. We're the prime one.
Yeah,
you know, in the noon slot with Fox, so that'll be interesting. But
huge storyline, right? Like huge storyline. Wentz and Stafford, the two guys that we thought that we might get.
We joked about it in the offseason when we knew the schedule.
And you called that in the offseason. You said the NFL's got to dial this up and have these two guys go against each other. You know, I kind of thought it was going to be on prime time, like you thought it might be on prime time. But yeah, definitely, man. It's just one of those crazy things.
Yeah. So me and Zach have toyed with this. We've got a lot of interaction. We want to try something for like 5 minutes. We want to give one of you guys who's in here watching on YouTube, who follows us on Twitter, we want to give you guys a chance. Hit it in the comments if you want to jump on right now. If you want to come on here with me and Zach, and we'll pop you up. We'll get you on. We'll send you an invite, and you can jump on. Who wants to do it? Let us know. We'll keep talking, but let us know,
Absolutely.
And we'll pop you guys up here. Maybe it's near the tail end, and you want to give your. We'll pop you on for the prediction. Because we got some fun predictions coming here in just a little bit. Man. Let us know, and we'll send you an invite, and you can jump on here. So do that, and we'll keep talking. Well, let's see, Jason. I saw Jason pop up. Might be hard to get pressure up the middle, but the blitz with Darius up the middle and Buckner works a lot for the Colts. That is true. You know, I think I saw something today. It was a very interesting stat. Was in the first 43 games of someone's career, who had the most forced fumbles? Or I think it was forced fumbles or strip sacks, one of the two. 1 and 2 were Freeney and Mathis, and the only other one who had at least 13. They had 16. The closest one behind them was at 13, and it was Darius Leonard. So, I mean, dude knows how. I mean, he is so key to everything. You just look at games he's missed, and it's just, you know, not to sound hokey or funny, but he to quote our buddy Cody, he brings the juice, man. He is the heartbeat of the defense, and it's not the same when he's not there. There it is, 43 games. Thank you, Colts loyalists. So, I mean, Herbicide wants to know if we want to. We're going to get the predictions in about 10 minutes. We're going to get to the predictions. I mean, we're already kind of talking about it, but let's kind of go. Let's do what we did last week here. A key on offense, key on defense. What do you got, Zach? What are your two keys to the Colts coming out and not being 0-2?
Well, I think on offense, it starts with obviously up front. You've got to block. You've got to keep Carson Wentz upright most of the day. You know, I mean, he gets hit a few times in that game. You can deal with it, but he's certainly no double-digit, pressure, sacks, hits. He just can't take that type of pressure all day long. So I think it starts in the trenches, and because it starts in the trenches, I think you need to run the football really, really well. And then I think by translating, pivoting off of that run game, that opens up those deep shots, those play action things. Carson really loves getting outside, man. I mean, he really loves getting outside and spinning that ball out and throwing and launching those deep balls because he has a great arm. I mean, there's no question when he gets a chance and he has enough time and space, he can really fling it. I mean, there's no doubt about it. So for me, the key starts up front, but then that translates to the running game, and then that translates, effectively into the passing game, be able to hit those big chunk plays, which everybody needs to win in the National Football League. So offensively, that's where I'm at. Defensively, we've got to control the line of scrimmage, and we've got to turn that ball over, man. We've got to take the ball away from that football team and flip that field. I think we've talked about wanting to be a team that turns the ball over and just to have a bunch of ball magnets on the team. Well, we got to do it. We can't just talk about it. We got to actually go out there and do it. So those are my keys to the game. Turnovers and offensive line, just starting everything and getting things going the right direction.
Yeah, I mean, so before I get to mine, Nomadic Brian actually dropped his 2 in. So I want to give him some credit here.
Okay.
He said number 1 is find a way to protect Carson. I think that's such a crucial thing. And number 2 is run and gets back to blocking and opening holes. So I think those are 2 great ones when it comes to it. And then before I give my keys, I also want to say everyone who's in the chat right now, okay, please drop your predictions because we're gonna pull them up like we did last week again. Herbicide, you're welcome here. You have now become our resident NFC West expert. So you are welcome here any week that we play the NFC West team, which is 2 more times, I believe, this season. So please be here. Your prediction is welcome too. So I mean, my key, if I'm really sitting here thinking, I mean, they could be the exact same as yours, honestly. But at the same time, that doesn't make good content. You guys, we have to be different, right? So mine would be, I would say on offense, we have to establish the run. We have to establish, and not just like 3 yards in a cloud of dust. Like we have to be able to get push and run the ball. It's going to neutralize Aaron Donald as much as you can, and it's going to also keep Stafford off the field, which I think is a huge thing because it's going to slow down it's time of possession. It's now we won the time of possession obviously against Russell Wilson, but the dude just throws probably the best deep ball I've ever seen. Yeah. So it was neutralized, but I think everyone wants to see Marlon play more. So okay, let's use our stable. There's 4 backs. There's 3 on any given Sunday that could bust off massive runs between JT and Naheem and Marlon. So use the backs. Let's just pound them.
100%.
That's my key on offense. Control the tempo of the game, control it, and run. Key on defense, I said it earlier. I've said it several times. Knock Matthew Stafford off his spot. Absolutely. I think that's the most crucial thing. Disrupt. It is such a timing offense for the Rams. It is if he's allowed to sit back there, he's going to, like any good quarterback, he will pick us apart. Hands down, no problem. He'll eat our lunch. So you have to knock him off his spot. It's that simple. I say it's that simple. It is not simple. Yeah. If it was simple, everyone else would be doing it. But I think those are the 2 keys for me. Is I think you're going to have to. It's old adage. Establish the run and get home. And I'm not even going to say you have to rack up Chandler Jones-esque numbers and 7 sacks in a game. Hit him. Yeah. He's also been proven to be injury prone. I'm not saying that, but he doesn't like to get hit. Yeah. No quarterback does. No, we all saw it's a tough dude, but he did not look happy.
Yeah. Yeah. You are 100% right with that. I mean, and it's common sense. I mean, we know what it's going to take to win this football game. And it's going to be this is going to be a really big challenge for the Indianapolis Colts. And we're going to find out what this team is made of this week. We're going to see how well they play and how well they bounce back. And when we get into our prediction part of it, maybe I'll be right this week. Maybe I'll be wrong, but we'll see what we're doing. What do you think, man? Let's hop right into our predictions. We'll let everybody else take their chance and throw some numbers down there. We'll throw up their predictions. Okay. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to predict.
So we have something fun really quickly too. So we added something really new. So. Oh, yes. We were really excited. I'm not going to lie. We were so excited about that. It's prediction time. Okay?
100%.
So do we want to give ours or do we want to run through everybody? Because God love every single person in here. When we asked not only that, we're sorry. I want to go ahead and say too, we're so thankful. We're sorry if we're not getting to the comments that you guys are dropping in. We're trying our best to pop up as many as possible. But even our keys, everyone gave their keys in the chat. Yeah,
100%.
So I'm loving this. let's do ours, and then we'll go through everybody. So,
Okay.
Zach, I'm gonna let you go first, man.
I think it's going to be an incredibly tough fought game, but history tells me that Frank Reich generally bounces back from a bad, embarrassing loss in a very positive way. So I'd be shocked to see us not play well. I'd be shocked to see us not come out there and really, in front of our home fans, not put out a representative football game. And for that reason, I'm going to go the Colts winning in a very close football game, 27-24, at Lucas Oil for our first win of the season. 27-24, Indianapolis Colts.
Wow. See, this is like where mind melts. So I'm not gonna lie, like I started the live stream tonight thinking one thing. And as I talk and as I think and as I hear everything, my mind literally changed in the middle of it. So I'm gonna go 24-21 Colts.
Okay.
I would be lying if I didn't say I had 31-28 Rams in my mind. But kind of talking, and the more you think, and then, the more that we discuss, and the more that you hear everything, we've talked about too. The team always seems to bounce back. We don't have two bad games in a row when it comes under Reich. So I just don't think it's going to happen. I think it's such a big game, and they're so disappointed with how they played. And I know that. I mean, I think we've done a good job on here, and a lot of Colts content creators have too, of stamping down the idea that this was a Super Bowl team. That they were one player away, they were Carson Wentz away from that. That we kind of were like, it's a playoff team. I don't think Ballard viewed it as that. So, but if you're going to be a playoff team, you got to beat good teams. You've got you're as flush as you can be going into this game, because the way the AFC South played out last week with the Titans losing and the Jags losing, and we know how bad the Texans are. So I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. So we want to go to y'all's ones. Okay, so first up, Cameron Robinson, 24-17 Colts. I'm going to go ahead and get it out here, you guys. This is a Colts podcast. Herbicide, any other fans, if you're a Rams fan on here, you're going to see a lot of Colts wins. You're not going to see a whole lot of Colts are going to lose this game.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. I'll see. As I say that, our boy Jason David, 30-28 Rams. Hate to go against the Colts, but maybe this works.
That's a close game, though.
That's
Jason has, that's a very realistic. I think it's going to be close either way. I think if you told me that happened, I'm not going to be 100% shocked. I just think that the Indianapolis Colts find a way this week to really push through and have a really solid football game.
Yeah, I mean, Nomadic Brian, Colts 27-26. You guys, like you said, you're going to see a theme as we're popping your guys up, that everyone's got this being pretty close. Young Money, 31-37. I'm guessing that's 37-31 Colts.
Yeah.
I mean, even Reed Smith, 31-28. Win season, I love you, man. 35-17 Rams. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. That's tough. Me and you had a long talk this week, Wentz season. Me and you had a long talk via Twitter this week about being calm, okay? So, about calming that down a little bit. I know I'm scrolling myself up because Herbicide dropped in his prediction, and I feel like Herbicide, if I'm not finding it, I feel like it was 17, if we play right, 17-10 Colts, is I feel like what he predicted. Okay. So, I mean, and the most interesting thing, this is why I love, we've got these Seahawks fans in here. We've got our NFC West experts. And there's a lot of them that are dropping in here, that have said, Scott Tubalo, the Rams aren't what everyone thinks they are. Bears aren't that good, and they ran all over the Rams. It's a good perspective to have, because as a team that doesn't play them regularly, they look really, really good. But as a Seahawks fan, you see them twice a year. So I'm thrilled that you guys are in here.
And that's a great point too, Stephen. But one thing I mentioned at the top of the podcast, the very first week in the NFL is I feel like the biggest misnomer and the biggest overreaction that we're going to have of the whole season. If your team comes out and plays 2 bad weeks in a row, then that panic button starts kind of getting tapped on or hit, depending on who you're playing. We're starting our season playing 2 playoff teams, in my opinion. But I'm more interested in week 2 than week 1. Not that I'm dismissing week 1, like that didn't happen, but week 1 is just not always the best barometer to judge your football team. I've seen so many football teams come out in week 1 and just played like trash. And then week 2, it all starts to kind of cohesively go together. And we're going to know more about what type of football team we have here in just a few days. Now, even if we get beat in a bad way, that offensive line can't block so many, disruptions on that defense, then we've got a problem. We've got to figure something out, and we got to figure something out fast. But if we come out, even if we lose in a really close game against a really good football team, I think there's something to build on there. I don't think there's anything that, you don't quite hit the panic button. But as Colts fans, we're going to find out this week what type of football team we have. I think it's very important for everybody to look at this team differently this week than we looked at the team last week. There's no excuses. There's no, hey, I didn't play in the preseason. There's none of that stuff going on. You're playing in front of your home crowd. You got embarrassed. It's time to go out there, man up, and play football. And I really hope that we respond that way. And like I mentioned earlier, usually Frank Reich's football teams respond very well after a bad loss, especially a game that they're really flat and they don't play well at all. So that's why I went the prediction, 27-24 Colts, just because I think we play well in front of our home crowd, and I think we get it done.
Yeah. I mean, and like Skylar and Kirsten brought up, Darius, Braden, Fisher, Rhodes, if they all play 32-21, like that's actually a decent spread. If they don't, they could still see us winning 27-24.
Okay.
It's going to be interesting, and there's my win season. I know we've had a long conversation about just that's why Zach does the instant reaction and I do 24 hours later. I try to calm y'all down a little bit. But even like, as we're trying to wind this down, and you guys, I love this so much when you guys jump in. And like we said last time, y'all can keep talking. The chat stays live. Y'all can keep talking to each other. Absolutely. When we log off of here. Y'all can add us on Twitter. We'll still talk. But it's a huge game, man. Like I can't underplay it enough. Yeah. But I'm with you too on what you said. I think if we lose a close game, it's different. If we have our doors blown off of us, in this game, like we did last week, or worse than last week,
time to hit that panic button.
You're going to get a little worried. It's going to start to be a little worrisome. Yeah. But just okay, guys, just so
Inhale,
much.
Exhale.
Me and Zach have been Colts fans for 30 plus years, and just okay. Absolutely. It gets a little crazy. Someone mentioned earlier, can I come off the ledge? Yes. It's week 1. Don't start talking about the draft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Enjoy the season.
17-week season, man.
It's literally, they talk about it every week now. It is the longest season in NFL history. Now it's going to be this from now on. But so just breathe, you guys. So the other thing too, like here at the end, as we're winding down, like we said, please rate, review, subscribe, share. If you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do so. I think we are at, where are we at? 443.
443.
So let's see. Y'all are fantastic. We love the No Horsing family. What do you think? 460? Do you think that we could be at 17? Can we be at 460 by kickoff?
Let's do this. Let's do 465 by kickoff.
Can y'all do it?
I'm a little bit lost.
I believe in them.
I mean, the way that, especially, so many people from other different platforms have kind of supported our YouTube channel here in the recent, in the last week, 2 weeks, month. We've been going. I just want to take a second, Steve, before we hop off here and just do our due diligence. I always try to thank every single person. I want to start off by saying, thanking Herb, Herbside for getting on here. He's a Seahawks fan, but, we welcome everybody to the No Horsing family. And we're glad, if we can be civil, if we can be cool, if we can just talk football, even if we don't agree with you all the time, we're happy to have you here, man. I mean, I think this is really cool. The Seahawk fan base, from what I can tell, the interaction that we had on all the YouTube comments, they're good people, man, and we're glad to have that. Sucks that we lost that football game, but it's nice to know that we've met some cool fans. And to Colts Nation, in particular, the No Horsing Around family, we ask that you like, rate, review, share, subscribe, and if you've already joined the family, ask someone else to join the family. That's all we're doing. We want to use your voice with our platform, and we want to get it out to everybody. If you got something to say, that's why we're so interactive with you. That's why we do these live streams. Truth be told, we do the live streams for you guys. I mean, we want you guys to have your voice heard. It's so important to us, because at the end of the day, Steven and I are just fans just like you. And that's why we do it. We love doing it. It's our passion. We love Colts football. We love using our voices. So why not let you use your voices? So I can just say I'm super humble, grateful, and thankful for every single thing that you've done for us to this point, and let's just keep it going. And thanks so much.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to follow. I mean, we always end it with thanking you guys. We can have fun. We can argue back and forth. Me and Zach talk every single day, multiple times a day, but it's because of you guys that it's kind of grown. It's because of you guys the video exploded after the game. It's because of you guys that the deep breath one exploded. That when we check, we're just constantly gaining subscribers. That's all you guys. And we're like, I think I've always said this, that I'm kind of dumbfounded and very, very humbled by it, because I think I'd be lying if I said I thought I'd be ever talking to more than maybe 15 people. And now we talk to thousands. So, I mean, it's really, really cool. It's very humbling. Take a breath, kick your feet up, watch the game. If you're at the game, go find Zach. He's going to be at the game this weekend. Give him a high five. Tell him you're from the No Horsing family.
We'll be there. DM me on Twitter if you see me. We'll stop off and take a picture, man. I love to see you guys in person. I'm a season ticket holder, so yeah, man. If I catch you guys down at the game, yeah, don't hesitate, man. Say, hey, I'm here. I'm in this section. I'm over this way. And if I'm around, man, I'll be glad to link up with you guys. But once again, man, Steve and I, we just want to say thank you.
Yeah. So we end it the same way every time, you guys. I love you. Zach loves you. We're out of here.